and welcome to Fulham Fan News. Tonight, I'm joined by Kieran, as always, Mr.
Hello.
Massive Mike.
Yeah,
And for his first ever episode on Fulham Fan News, we're joined by Joe. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm good and happy to be here. Happy to be joining you boys.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumours about, so the more people we get, the more ideas, the more thoughts of everybody involved. So we'll just get straight into it. Unfortunately, there's some bad things that have happened this week for Fulham. If it depends how you look at it, really. But firstly, we'll start with Willian, who, according to a lot of reports, has rejected a new one-year deal at Craven Cottage, reportedly on roughly the same amount of money he was on last season. He feels that he's deserving of more money, according to a report from the Daily Mail. So yeah, boys, how are you feeling about the Willian thing? Do you feel there's still an opportunity to get that one done?
Uh, yeah, Kieran, if you want to start.
it's a bit of when I saw it, I was quite shocked because obviously he's been such an important player for us throughout the season, and it's going to be quite a sad loss if he does go. But of course, as you say, we don't know that for sure. The negotiations could still be ongoing, so until the official announcement comes, we won't be sure. But it would really be a huge loss, especially as he's really kind of like rolled back the years this season. He's shown that he's still got the class, and he's really enjoyed his football as well, which is an important part of his, which is an important part when especially after all his problems at Arsenal and in Brazil. So I think if he does move, it would be unfortunate to see him go, considering he could, there's so much more he could offer for next season. But at the same time, if Fulham have not offered him what he wants and it's unsatisfactory, then I guess it's up to him to make his final decision. But he seems to want to stay in London, so we can hope that whether it's still negotiations are still ongoing, we can hope that he's still kind of being lured to Fulham and wants to stay. So yeah, only time will tell.
Joe, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think he loves it here, and I think for him to go, especially after what happened at like Arsenal and in Brazil, I think it would be a totally silly thing for him to do on a personal level. I mean, sure, maybe he could get a little bit more money elsewhere. For me, I think the whole thing is just agent talk. To be honest, trying to drive up his what he's being paid. I think he loves it at Fulham. He's got a good group around him. We've got a good like Portuguese speaking group, and I reckon we'll bring in even more Portuguese speaking players as long as we keep Marco Silva. I really don't see him going anywhere. And like Kieran said, he loves London, and the other options are what you got Palace. I saw him being rumored to Palace. I just don't see him taking what I personally regard as a step down in his career from us to a club like Palace.
We just lost some. Anyone who supports Palace that does watch us, we just lost them. Uh, Yeah, no, I agree with you, boys. To be honest, I think he's made it very clear that he absolutely loves Fulham and he loves London, West London especially. That I think that's the key part to it. Is the only other team is, the bus stop. So hopefully he doesn't end up there. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that eventually this will happen. It will get done. There were reports in Brazil that he was still at negotiations with Fulham. So hopefully it's one of those ones that as the summer goes on, it'll come clear and we'll end up signing Willian again. I think the biggest sticking part with it was that he wanted 2 years and Fulham were only offering one. I think they offered one with an option of another if both parties agree. So I think he's probably thinking, I want to make sure I'm tied down for a couple of years. So I think there's definitely room to manoeuvre there, and definitely think that negotiations are still ongoing for that one. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully that one gets done. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see in the future. But moving swiftly onwards towards Manor Solomon, and some real interesting things said in an article by Shlomi Ben Ezra, who is Manor Solomon's agent, saying that there are unprofessional things said and done at Fulham, saying that he wasn't 100% sure whether he'd be staying, so Marco wasn't 100% sure whether to play him. This was all in an article by Sport 5 in Israel today. So and also the fact that Fulham weren't mentioned in the number of teams that were interested in offering Manor Solomon a contract. So yeah, Joe, we'll start with you on that one. How do you feel about Manor Solomon going?
Well, I mean, personally, I can't comment on things behind the scenes because I got no idea really whether there's any truths in the rude things that were said to him behind the scenes. But I brandish what I think is an unpopular opinion when it comes to Manor Solomon. I'm really disappointed that we've actually not signed him. I've seen lots of people on Twitter saying, "Oh, good riddance," and he'll probably end up having a failed career. But I think personally, watching him on the ball, sometimes he just looked magical. He'd just drift through players, especially when he really wanted it. And sure, he could be a little bit greedy at times, but isn't that what you want from a good winger? To be greedy, try and get in at goal. He scored some proper vital goals for us as well this season. Obviously, the one at Brighton springing to mind straight away. I think it's really unlucky, and it all stems back to the fact that we were too cheapskate to pay the actual fee for him when we had the opportunity to, and not just too cheapskate. We were trying to like steal a player from a war zone, technically. I mean, it's just so unethical. It's such a punch in the face that we deserve after what we've done. I don't see, in terms of him as a player, I don't see him having a huge effect at Spurs. I think maybe I would have, like I said, I would have liked for him to have stayed, but if that's not what he wanted, maybe go on a sideways move. But it was rumoured for him to go to Spurs even during the season, wasn't it? So there must have been some sort of talks. He must have lost motivation. Maybe Marco saw that, and that's why he wasn't playing as much. But yeah, in my opinion, it's a shame.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kieran. Anything to add on that?
Not really. I mean, I completely agree with Joe. It is going to be a huge loss in the same way as it will be a loss if Willian leaves. And again, he's proved how good he can be since coming back from his injury early on in the season. Of course, he turned into prime Messi at times, as Joe said. And I think, of course, Tottenham will likely be his new destination. Of course, it seemed from Fabrizio Romano and various other sources on Twitter and stuff that he will likely be leaving for Tottenham. But it will be a shame, and it will mean we need some more cover on the wings. But of course, whether there's any truth behind what was being said behind the scenes, we won't know. But if there is, then I can see kind of why that kind of would have developed throughout the end of the season, especially considering his appearances and stuff like that. So yeah, all in all, it's going to be a bit of a loss. But of course, we can always replace him with someone else if we find them, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Fulham are in the market and will replace these players, but it's just whether you can replace the quality of Willian. We know he's got the quality. We know he's good in the Premier League. Are you going to go and bring someone in from France or Italy who hasn't proven themselves at this level? It's a big risk. I agree. In terms of Solomon, I think part of the reason Fulham didn't pay the money for him last season was financial fair play. Um, I do think we were right up against it, and it was either Solomon or Pereira in at that time. And when Fulham saw the opportunity to get him on loan for free, I think they saw it as a no-lose situation at the time. Obviously, he done his knee injury and he was out for 6 months, and everyone thought, oh, we're not even going to see him play. And then when he did come back, he set the world alight. He was brilliant for about a month. But as soon as he got into full training and Marco saw him training and things, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but obviously Marco saw something that he went, no, I'm not interested. You're going to sit on the bench. Like you guys say, there was rumours of Spurs even as early as January. I think we saw his girlfriend posting something with Fabrizio Romano from Instagram as early as January. So yeah, I think like Joe says, he might have lost a bit of interest, and at that point, Marco said, "No, you're not for me. If you're not 100% committed, then I'm not going to have you." But again, like Joe says, he's magical on the ball, and going forward, he's a sort of player that you need when you need to carry the ball up the field when you're under a bit of pressure, when you need that spark of magic to get you out of trouble, a la the Brighton game. And yeah, I think it will be a loss, and I do think Fulham will struggle to replace both players, to be honest, if Willian doesn't sign. But hopefully they do. I'm sure they're working hard behind the scenes, and as we tick closer to the kickoff, I think it's only 5 weeks away. I think people are beginning to start getting a bit twitchy, myself included.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously we've seen tonight that there are rumours that Marco Silva still may go to Saudi Arabia. Al Ali, I think this time instead of Al Halil. I mean, if you're dyslexic, that's a big problem for you. But boys, yeah, I'm sure you've seen the rumours. Obviously, we know he's turned down one massive contract, two massive contracts. Is he going to go this time, Joe?
No, I don't think so. A lot of that is hope, but I just don't think so. I think he was given a chance when he came to Fulham. He wasn't great with Everton, wasn't great with Watford, and it seemed like his English career was going to be over. And then we gave him that chance. He took the chance by the neck and did amazing. And I just can't see him throwing all of that away, all of what he's achieved in the last 2 seasons just for the big bucks. And I mean, it is the big bucks. It is the biggest offer he'll probably ever receive. But I think he really wants to cement a stature in the game. And I just can't see him dossing off to Saudi to manage some random club, random old players. I really think and I really hope he's going to stay.
Yeah, Kieran.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I really hope he stays. Of course, there's been plenty of offers coming in, all the big money moves. We've seen many players from the Premier League end up leaving and going to Saudi Arabia this transfer window. And I think it will continue. There'll be managers as well. And of course, all the various Saudi clubs have targeted him, but if he's rejected them so far, it does give us a glimmer of hope, at least, that he is willing to stay and willing to kind of build on his project, which he has been so successful at starting so far since joining us from the Championship all the way up to the success of last season. As Joe said, he's got a point to prove. And I think this season could be crucial for him to kind of prove that he is a top level manager. And I think if he does leave, which I really hope he won't. I think he won't. It would be the end of his English It would be the end of his English career, especially because I don't think any other team would trust him to come in for longer than he has, and he'd be a bit unreliable. And I feel he'd ruin his chances at really proving himself in the top flight. So I fully believe he'll stay, but of course we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean the big bucks are, they are very enticing. We've seen Bobby Firmino go to Al Ali tonight. I think Jota from Celtic went somewhere last night with the weirdest introduction video I've ever seen. But yeah, I agree with you boys. I think that he will stay. I think, like Kieran just said there, that he's got a reputation of jumping ship pretty quickly. And I think, like Joe said, he wants to cement his stature in the game in the top flight. He's a big fan of Jose Mourinho. I know he's big. He's a massive fan of him. So hopefully, with Mourinho turning it down, he'll follow in his footsteps, and hopefully he'll get the players he wants in at Fulham this summer, and we'll have another good season. But yeah, I agree with you both. I think all three of us are in agreement there that these rumours that are coming out from Saudi are just to unsettle, to be honest. And obviously, it doesn't help that Marco's been in Dubai the last week or so with Luis Bellamorte and his family, because I believe Luis Bellamorte's son was playing in a football tournament for Benfica out there. So there is going to be those links because Dubai is near Saudi and they send their representatives out there to talk. And yeah, so those links are going to continue to happen. But I also saw that Al Ali or whatever it is they're looking at Antonio Conte, and I believe the rumor that you boys would have seen tonight about Marco Silva says that he is second choice, and I believe it is Antonio Conte that they want as their first choice. So yeah, again, I agree with you boys, and hopefully, fingers crossed again that Marco sticks around. Going on to some transfer rumours now, some lighter stuff. We've seen in recent days some more rumours pop up left, right, and centre for Fulham. And I just want to talk about a few of them. First, we'll start with Yunus Musah, who's a full USA international playing for Valencia. apparently he's in talks with AC Milan as well, but Fulham are ready to blow them out of the water apparently and take his signature. Very exciting player, 20 years of age, very athletic, can play on the wing if necessary. Saw him at the World Cup, seen him play a bit for Valencia, and he's yeah, definitely the stature of player that Fulham should be looking at now this summer. Kieran, have you seen much of Yunus?
I've not seen much of him, but of course I've done my research, so I've got a few little things. I think he'll definitely fit in well, especially considering we have American owners and other American players in the team. I think he'll kind of fit right in there and kind of join along with them. I think he'd fit the system that we need. He'd add depth and he'd add class to the central midfield. Of course, alongside Reed, Polina, and Lukic. Across 94 games in La Liga, he's got 2 goals and 2 assists, which it isn't much, but of course it could come at any time, and it's still adding to the team in such a way. And as you say, he's an exciting player, only 20 years, and he's got international experience behind his belt. So I think he'll be a real player to watch and a real exciting player to see in the Fulham shirt.
Yep. Joe, anything to add on Yunus Musah?
Yeah, I think the fact that he's 20 is what excites me the most. We had the oldest squad, I think, in the Premier League last season out of everyone in the league. So it's nice to see that we're beginning to. We went for the experienced heads to keep us in the league, and now we're looking towards some younger players to kind of further ourselves as a club. As a player, I think, yeah, I totally agree. I think he'd be a great fit, add some great competition, which is exactly what we need. I mean, the fact that we've got 17 players, obviously they're a long way until the season starts, but we kind of, if you totally look at our team sheet, we need players in everywhere. So the fact that you can play more than one role is even better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Fulham are looking at, is trying to get players in that are versatile and can play in different areas of the pitch if needed. Yeah, I think he's quality, and I think for 20 million euros, I think was what I saw was the price. It's a snip for a player of his quality in this day and age. 20 million euros is nothing. Obviously, AC Milan have offered a certain amount. I can't remember exactly how much, but I believe that it's not matching what Valencia want. And with Valencia in financial trouble and ready to sell, that, you know, if someone came in with that offer, they would accept it. So yeah, hopefully that's one that moves in the next few days.
He's familiar with London as well, isn't he? He came through Arsenal's academy. So
yeah, he did. Yeah,
familiar to the
well,
area.
he has said in the past he'd like to return to London as well. So yeah, he's
Another
got a
huge
point to
boost.
prove. Point to prove in the Premier League. So yeah, let's hope that one moves in the next few days. So FC20's right back Joshua Brennett. He was linked with Fulham in January. He's not going to cost the earth. We're looking at probably a depth player here. 29 years of age, 2 caps for Holland. But oddly enough, had 10 assists last season for 20. So he's obviously very creative as a player, likes to get forward. Mainly right back. He was 20's captain as well last season, so he's got a lot of leadership in him as well. So yeah, this is one that I'm hoping that Fulham actually do get done, because for depth, paying 900,000 to £1 million, again in this day and age of transfer market, it's a snip. I know he's 29, but we had Cedric last season who didn't exactly come in and do anything really. So to get someone else in who isn't going to cost the earth but can do a job is exactly what Fulham need to do, and use the money elsewhere for those key positions on the wings and up front and in midfield. So Joe, I'll start with you on this one. Do you know anything about Joshua Brennett?
Now, I can't say I've ever seen him play personally. I'm not the biggest FC20 watcher, but I did do a little bit of research, and the stats that he puts out, oh my gosh, he scored something like 7 goals or something like that as well. For a right back, not something that you see very often. I agree. For depth, I think if he's cheap, go for it. I was a little bit more excited by the prospect of getting Max Aarons, though, just because he's younger. He's played in England. He's younger, played in England before. So if I had a choice, then I'd go for Max Aarons. But yeah, in terms of cost-wise, I think Brennett would be a good option.
Yeah, I agree. I think Max Aarons, we covered Max Aarons on the last episode, and I made the point that he can play at left back as well. So the versatility is there again to play either side. I think he's played at left back twice in the under-21s Euros so far. So I think James Garner played right back, which is a bit odd. But anyway, yeah, I like Max Aarons, but again, he's going to cost £10 million. So if that money can go elsewhere to a better player on the wing, maybe that extra money gets us someone of a bit more quality, then I'm all for it, getting the depth in and at the back, and yeah, using that money elsewhere. Kieran, anything to add on Brennett?
I'd absolutely agree that he's a really versatile depth player. He'd add competition to that right back position, give Tete something to play for. And as Joe said, his stats seem to be quite unbelievable. I mean, the Dutch league he plays in, which is, if I pronounce this right, Eredivisie, something like that, which he plays with across 158 apps. He's got 12 goals and 14 assists, which for a right back is just unbelievable. So as Joe said, he adds all that class in that department. And I think if he's been the captain as well, he's showed leadership. He shows that he's experienced and he knows what needs to be done. And I think it's the competition that Tete will need, and it would be a real boost for our fullback options across the season. So yeah, it's a player that I would be really, I'd be very, very happy to see signed, whether it's for depth and as you say, at a cheap price as well. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is the thing. I think people are looking at it going, "Oh, I don't want him," but for the depth, it's important for them to get that depth, and it's important that they don't spend crazy money on the depth. They use that money to strengthen the first team. So yeah, that's one I would quite like to see happen. It's a smart piece of business, and hopefully something happens there. I know has interest from Besiktas and Fenerbahce as well, I believe. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. Obviously, Fulham really need to strengthen in central defence, and we've seen a lot of links recently of Fulham, Igor Julio, and Roger Ibanez, Sebastian Bornau. So we're going to talk a bit about Roger Ibanez now. I've seen that he's available for transfer. Obviously, Roma yesterday agreed a deal to sign Diego Llorente from Leeds. That obviously frees up Ibanez to make his move. Although there are a lot of teams interested in him, his price at the moment is roughly 30 to 35 million euros, which I don't see Fulham paying. I don't know about you boys, but I just don't see Fulham paying that for him. But if we could get a player of that caliber for say 20 million euros, that's a really good deal. I think he is exactly what Fulham need to strengthen at the back and for a period of time as well, because he's only 24. So we have the opportunity to have a guy there that could be our central defender now for the next 5-6 years. Kieran, I'll start with you on Ibanez, but do you know much about him?
Yeah, it would be a real statement signing. It would boost our defense hugely and be a real versatile option to have alongside Diop or Ream or just in the back line in general. He's got Europa League experience, of course, with Roma. He's got 6 goals and 2 assists throughout his Serie A career. And I think he'd be a really exciting player to see play for Fulham, and would really show our intent of moving on this season to higher positions in the league, and for not leaking as many goals, because of course, whilst we did tighten our defence towards the latter of last season, the start of last season, we were leaking a fair few goals. So if we can minimise that on, then I think we would have a real good season. So yeah, I'd be really happy to see him, but of course the price that they're asking is quite high. So I think I would have to negotiate a cheaper deal, and we'll have to see what happens with that one. But I really hope we can kind of move forward to that, especially if he's being offered as a transfer. So yeah, I'd be really happy with it.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, it would be a real statement signing. He's a very commanding centre half. Obviously, he's got interest as well from Aston Villa and Spurs. Although I think Spurs have moved on, because obviously I know they want Tosin, but they're also looking at Mickey van der Veen and Joseph Tapasoba as well from Leverkusen. So they can't have so many defenders. They've got to get rid of some. And obviously Villa are about to sign Pau Torres, which I think is a fantastic signing for them, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Very,
Fair
very good
play.
player.
All I can say is just applaud it and fair play. Like they go
Yeah,
from strength to
absolutely.
strength.
Yeah. Unai Emery's used his contacts over in Villarreal, and he's got a deal done for probably one of the best centre backs will be one of the best centre backs in the Premier League. So yeah, I can't see Villa pushing a deal for Ibanez either. So he may be left. I know it sounds bad for us, but he may be left with just Fulham as an option in the Premier League, which some articles were saying the other day that only Fulham can afford his wages as well. So hopefully something happens there. Joe, do you know much about Roger Ibanez?
Well, I actually do know quite a fair bit about him because he is my main man on Football Manager in my Fulham career mode. My Fulham Football Manager. So it was like when I saw that we were linked to him, I jumped up. I thought, get me on the scouting team. But yeah, he is in real life as well as my Football Manager say. He is fantastic. He would be such a signing, someone to properly go forward with as a centre half for our team. He is so good. But as much as I'd love it, I just can't see it happening.
Yeah. No, I think at the moment the price is too much. I think it could end up being, if no one picks him up, it could end up being a similar deal to like Joachim Andersen was a few years back, where Fulham were told 25 million at the start of the window. It was 25 million right through to the final day of the window, and then all of a sudden Leon contacted Fulham and said he's yours on loan for the season. So if Roma really need to get those wages off the bill, that's something that may happen towards the end of the window. But I agree with you. I think at the moment, the money that they want for him is just too much, and I can't see it happening. I can see us going back for someone like Igor Julio. I do like I've said in previous episodes, I do like Sebastian Bornau. I've seen links to Taylor Harwood-Bellis as well, but I think Burnley will probably get him back. So yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm sure there is a lot going on behind the scenes at Fulham at the moment, and obviously everyone's still a bit worried that we haven't made any signings. I think we're one of 5 teams now left in the Premier League to have not made any signings. I think the biggest thing for us at the moment is making sure Marco stays, trying to get Willian back. I'm upset Solomon's gone, but I'm not overly concerned that we can't replace a player like him. Um, so yeah, I think as long as those two things happen, we haven't actually lost too much depth. I think Tosin will go, be it for 13 million to Spurs, which is being rumoured or whatever, but that money will be reinvested in someone else. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on. I'm more than sure of that. You know, Tony Khan doesn't like to stand still. We all know that. So, and Alistair McIntosh and Marco Silva, I'm sure, are hard at work as well. So, hopefully, when the boys return to training and Marco returns to training, things will really start ramping up for us. Kieran, anything to add at the end there?
Not really. Let's hope we can try and get some signing start to moving forward in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I saw tonight that Fred is in London. Whether that's something to do with a transfer to Fulham, we don't know. He could just be there visiting and doing a bit of sightseeing. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But let's hope we can start the transfer window moving very soon.
Yeah, I hope there is something to do with obviously the Mason Mount deal's gone through now. So, you know, hopefully there's something there that Fred's in London for that reason. But we don't know. No one knows really. Joe, anything to add?
I was just going to say, let the spending commence. I'm ready. I need some excitement. I'm so bored without football now. I need something to be waking up, checking Twitter. I wake up, check Twitter for these rumours that seem to get nothing behind them. I want to see a Fabry, here we go tweet. That's what I'm waiting for.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Interestingly, we haven't had any Fabrizio Romano tweets this summer yet, have we? I don't think he likes us very much. Every time we tweet something, he seems to put an end to it very quickly. Yeah, thanks very much for joining me, boys. Next week, I'll be joined by Cottage Analytica, Chris Frank. So he'll be talking budgets and what Fulham do have to spend this summer. Hopefully, it's a fair amount of money so we can get a few bodies through the door. Kieran, thank you very much for joining me.
Anytime.
Joe, thank you for your first episode. Hope you enjoyed it.
Been a pleasure. First of many.
Yeah, he'll be back. That's good to hear. All right, boys. Thank you. Cheers.